Remember 9 to 5, the movie with Dolly Parton? They ostracized her. The two ostracized her because they thought she was sleeping with the boss.
Right.
See, we also have to deal with the fact that, you know, we can make judgments on people that are not true. We can be gossipy, which is, I think girls are great at that when they're growing up.
Yeah.
That's how girls bully, is pushing other girls out.
You're right.
You know, which is a real problem, I think, in schools that we sometimes forget about. It's not just boys that bully.
Yeah.
Because ostracizing is a form of bullying.
It is.
It's a form of bullying. But the other side of it too, though, Whitney, I think we need to be fair to how life works. I may be trying to join a group that I don't need to join. I may be trying to fit in to a group that really is not going to be good for me. Or it's not. Does that make, you know, we might think, you know, if I'm in this group, I'll be somebody, or I'll be more valuable, or I'll feel better, more self-worth. When it's like, what? Go be with people you like.
Right.
You know, if you're comfortable with artists who are hippie-ish and free-spirited, then go do that instead of trying to be with high-structured,
CEOs,
coffee drinking, mahjong playing. Again, no offense to any of these groups,
right?
But we sometimes try to fit in where we don't really need to be.
Yeah, I get it. And if I can, please let me go back just real quickly.
Sure.
When you said that for that annoying person that maybe you don't want to include.
Okay.
To say something absolutely terrifies me, because I would be so afraid of hurting that person's feeling. However, it's probably the kindest, most loving thing that we can do.
It is.
And it just struck me that when you were talking about maybe we're trying to be in a group that we shouldn't belong into, is that person who perhaps we say dominates the conversation or says things inappropriate or tells horrible off-color jokes, they might do it out of their own nervousness, right? Like they're just so excited to be there or anxious about making the right impression that they just go about it all wrong.
Go about it all wrong.
I think I've probably done that in my lifetime several times.
Very true, very true. And again, the real love, as you said, the real act of kindness is letting someone know maybe something that they don't know.
It's hard to hear.
That they were not even aware of. If someone's constantly talking, remember we were talking about likability one week.
That's right.
You know, some people just are not very likable, and we have to challenge them to, you know, look at some of these skills that might help you become more likable. It's tough.
It is tough.
But it's real love.
Yes,
it's
it
real
is.
love.
And I remember one easy one from that stays with me. Talk less, listen more. Which again, for anyone that's a little annoying to us, even ourselves, is always great advice.
Every group has a culture, or is a culture, and sometimes it's important, if it doesn't, to establish norms and rules.
Really?
We're going to
How
play.
so?
We're just going to have fun today.
Okay.
We get together to have fun, not to talk about our problems or the problems of the world. In this group, we don't bring up politics because we know that it pushes so many different buttons.
Okay.
Or if we do bring up politics, we're going to always do it respectfully.
Okay.
So you can set norms so that the group itself kind of finds its own formation. Because groups have to form, and then they have a little storming, we call it.
Okay.
And then there's conforming.
Storming
Have you ever heard that?
no.
Forming, storming, and conforming. It's kind of how groups come. I didn't mean to get off the ostracizing, but I think
But
it's
it involves
important.
groups often.
Well, don't you have values in your family? And you say, this is the way we do things.
Sure.
Or this is the way we talk to people. Or that's not acceptable in this house. Hitting, let's say, for instance.
Of course.
You know, it's not acceptable to always be thinking of yourself.
But I never
Think
thought
of
about
others.
saying those type of things in a group setting, but with friends or coworkers. But it's a great idea.
You're just playing the game.
Okay.
You know what I used to ask people all the time? Would you play Monopoly without knowing the rules?
No.
Would you really want to sit down with me and play Monopoly and say, and I'm like, Whitney, I've never played before. That's fine. Let's just start playing. You would say, well, this is the way it's done.
Sure.
I really think that we could use a lot more of this is the way it's done. And I think, if I may be so bold, fraternities and sororities would do well to think back what their mission is.
Right.
And how things ought to be said and done. Mm-hmm. There's a place for those kind of groups on colleges. But I think sometimes we really miss what's it for.
Yeah.
It's not for, what is it, hazing?
Hazing.
That's not what it's about. It's not about she's better than her, or we're all together.
You're right.
Connected.
You're right. It's about developing leadership, about making connections, about having a family away from home. I mean, that's what
Did you ever experience or do any kind of ostracizing at Ole Miss?
Did I? Oh, I hope not.
I bet you didn't.
But I will tell
I bet you
going through sorority rush, I certainly felt ostracized by a couple of sororities.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. Rejection, cut, not invited back to this party, and you just go, oh,
and going back to the brain, that hurts.
that hurts.
And the article, I think, was saying you try to fit in by coping by being nicer, right? I'm using the sorority thing.
Yeah.
Or you get more aggressive with maybe the people who are ostracizing.
Or your behavior changes to try to get attention.
Yes. Yeah. That try to get somehow either through aggression or sweetness, which really doesn't work because you're not yourself. Although, I mean, you're sweet, but you don't want to kind of not be yourself. And then you kind of resign yourself. Well, that's the two that.
Yeah.
You don't like the word resignation, but it talks about resignation, resigning oneself, accepting the fact, well, they don't like me. She doesn't like me.
She doesn't
like me.
And what a challenge for all of us to be okay with that.
And you know what else?
Tell me.
There are people I don't like. And there are people I bet you don't like. I'm not saying I'm going to ostracize them, but I have the right not to like them.
Right. Right.
And if I don't feel comfortable with them, I have the right not to be there in their presence. It probably would behoove me to tell them why, because I might be helpful, but I have to decide if it's worth the energy.
Right, right. Yeah, I get it.
God, we could just go on for Well, I mean, these are really, don't you think they're real?
Yes, because we've all been there.
Aren't there people you don't like?
There are
I
few.
know you probably like everybody. And the reason why I say that is if I can be honest with myself, then I can also be honest with the fact that maybe there are people that don't like me.
Right.
And that's okay too.
Right.
But let's just remind people to be aware and sensitive that we're all sensitive. And we can have our feelings hurt, and not for us to intentionally not to reject people.
Right.
Or push them out.
And
or keep them out.
All right.
Be good, everybody.
More Weekends with Whitney after this.